inequalities. Okay, so please fill in your heading. Again, today is the 17th. Okay, so if we look at case one, okay, in these first boxes, okay, we have a greater than or equal to, okay. When we have the absolute value, okay, what are some things that we remember about just solving absolute value equations? Yeah, Brandon. Sure. If you activate the absolute value, it's going to be the positive version of that. Perfect. What else? Anything specific to solving equations that have absolute values? Perfect. Good. What else? Brandon? Very good. Okay. There's kind of y'all hit all the ones that I'm thinking of. Okay. There's one more. Okay. It's okay if we don't remember it, but you also have to, once you do what Brandon just said, so you get the absolute value symbol by itself. Okay, which means there's nothing outside of it on that side of the equal sign. You have to write a second equation. Do you remember doing that? Okay. So if I have the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 5, okay, when we had our inequality problems like this last week, you would say this or this. Okay, do we remember that now? Okay, so we're doing the same thing, okay, with these inequalities. Again, just a slight difference. Okay, we have the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 5, or the absolute value of x is, what do we think we're going to do with the sign right here? We are going to flip it. Flip it and change. Okay? Then when we go to graph these, okay, we have a point at 5. We have a point at negative 5. Closed or open? They are both closed. Okay, we have x is greater than. We have x is less than. Okay? So how would you write your interval notation? Perfect. There we go. Okay. Don't forget your ors. Okay. On the examples of having an and, you won't actually write the and because it'll just be a closed interval. Brandon. Go into each other. On this worksheet, yes. Okay. You'll have both. Okay. Now they will move. The lines will move towards each other. Okay. But they will not cross either side because those are an and problem. Okay. So we need to make sure that the solution is good for both. So let's try you doing. Well, no, let's do it together. Okay. So this other example. Okay. We have the absolute value of x is less than or equal to 8. So this is going to be or, well, writing or is irresponsible. It is, your second equation will be absolute value of x is greater than or equal to negative 8. Okay? When we graph these, we have a circle on 8. We have a circle on negative 8. Closed or open? Okay, now we need to know which way these lines go. So we have x is less than or equal to 8. So we are graphing from the 8, and we said x is where? Less than or greater than? Less than. So we are going this direction, right? Okay. We're going to stop at -8 because this is going to be an and problem. So we have also the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to -8. So from -8, we would also go in the positive direction until we get to +8. Okay. So we're covered in our line graph. Our interval notation's a little simpler on these and problems. We'll have bracket, -8, comma, 8, bracket. Because it's an and not an or. Okay? Now, why? Let's think theoretically. Obviously, out of case 1 and case 2, I gave you those specific examples to show you one and the other. Okay? But this is actually going to make the worksheet much easier for you today. Okay? When you get a greater than or a greater than or equal to, it will be an or problem. Okay? So we see right here, what's your original sign? It's a greater than. That means it's an or problem today. Okay? If you get a less than symbol, it's an and problem. Okay? Nice thing about the absolute values. Okay? Okay? So, right here, what does this mean? Okay, this means that absolute value inequalities are I would say essentially, let's just say really, compound inequalities, which we worked on last class. Okay, which means less than equals and greater than equals or. Okay, it takes a lot of the trying to figure out which is which out of the equation for you. It also gives you a very reasonable way to check where you went wrong in your problems. Okay, if you start with a less than and you see that your lines are going away from each other, then I know I did something wrong and I can go back up and check it. Okay, so our steps to solve. Okay, isolate the absolute value expression. Step 2, create two cases. Okay, use the KISS method. Keep it, switch, switch. Okay, keep, change, flip. Okay, is one that we've used before. Okay, to set up two cases. Okay, or two separate expressions, right? Or I guess not expressions, equations, inequalities. Okay, 3 is to solve, and 4 is to graph and write your interval notation. Okay, so let's look at number 1. Now, don't say this out loud, but I want you to write your answer in the top right-hand corner of this box, okay? Just so you can see if you understand what we've talked about so far. Just by looking at it and without doing any math, is this problem an and problem or an or problem? Write it in that box in the top right-hand corner. Is it an and problem or an or problem? Okay? The answer is in the first half of our notes so far. Okay? It is an and. Okay? It is an and. Okay? If you got it wrong, look back up at case 1 and case 2. Okay? If it's a greater than, it'll be an or. If it's a less than, it'll be an and. Okay? So when we write our second case on these, okay, we will have, well, we have x is less than 7. We also would have x is, oh dear, greater than -7. Okay? Do we remember how to write our inequality on the and problems? That is interval notation, but I'm talking about specifically the inequality notation. Okay, so remember the and problems are the ones where you have the 3. Okay, so you have -7. Okay, is less than x, which is less than 7. Okay, and a lot of times, if it's kind of tough for you to conceptualize and see it in your head, okay, after you put the graph down on the line graph, that can be a little easier to see. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph it. We've got -7. We've got +7. Open or closed? Open. This is an and problem, so we know they're going into each other. Okay? Which makes our interval notation what? I heard it over here just a second ago. It's all right. Okay. Do number 2 on your own. There you go. Oh, they're right there. That's why I didn't have one.
I know you got that fade. What? You should get a drag and get weight.
Okay, there's number 2. You can look up and check yourself.
Let's go! I did not do that right.
Okay, so number 3. So number 1 and number 2, very simple. It's already solved out for you. Okay. Now we're going to start getting into what we were doing yesterday, whereas you're going to have to do a little bit of solving now. Okay. So let's look at number 3. Okay. Number 3, we have the absolute value of x minus 1 is greater than 6. This is what sort of problem? An or. It's an or. Okay? Because of the sign that the problem starts with. Right? Okay. So, how are we going to write our second equation? So I've got x minus 1 is greater than 6, or x minus 1 is less than negative 6. Okay? You're going to solve both. Okay, make sure you give me your inequality notation, box it in, then you can get to your graph. Bless you. We have been teaching my 2-year-old a song to help him cough into his elbow. It's no, I don't want to sing it. It is to the tune of Baby Shark.
No.
Have you played at least?
I would play.
Yeah. Okay.
I might. They were like, say it wrong. What if you boom on that?
Okay. So when we solve for both, okay, you got to add 1 to both sides on both equations or inequalities. Should give you x is greater than 7 or x is less than negative 5. Okay. And you know what? Even when you're writing your inequality notation, and this is my fault, when you're writing your inequality notation, it does need to be low value to high value. Okay. I wouldn't count it wrong necessarily, but this would be more accurate. So then you go and graph on negative 5 and 7. It is an or problem, so the graph is are moving away from each other. Your interval notation should say parentheses negative infinity, comma negative 5, parentheses, or parentheses 7, comma infinity, parentheses. Please do number 4 on your own. Yes, please do number 4. If you move on past number 4, some things will be slightly different, so just be patient, okay?
It's an alligator. No, I know.
Oh, I started that.
Alligator. Exactly. He doesn't know. Oh, no. Has this epiphany that every single time he realizes he goes, yo.
Oh yeah, I know.
Confused would imply that I'm thinking about it at all, and I'm not. So. Yeah, I really like them.
He likes to smell chocolate.
Okay, here's number 4. Yes, ma'am. She's on her way.
So why is it weird? Because you don't know how to mom? Are you jealous? Yeah, you're jelly. You're mad jelly. That she talks back to you. You're jealous that she wants to eat. And don't talk like this.
Wait, when I do it to the front, if it's an X or do the inverse operation? Right.
Which part, DJ?
Or on like when you're doing inverse operation
Mm-hmm.
with the negative 2.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind, I never
Okay.
I never.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Number 4 is up here. Check yourself.
Before you read it, right?
Okay, if you will flip over to the back. We're going to skip number 5. Okay, and we're going to move on to number 6. Okay, so number 6 is the first one that has what?
2 things. It has a plus and a minus. No, it has something outside of the absolute value.
Very good. Yeah. So like number 6. Okay, number 6. Okay, we have something outside the absolute value symbol. Okay, which means before, listen, that means before you can identify if it's an and or an or problem, you need to get your 2 cases or your 2 inequalities written out. Okay, which means you need to get the absolute value symbol all by itself. So you've got x plus 3. We're adding 1 to both sides, so that means you don't have to flip your sign. And that gives you is less than 6. From this point, okay, from this point is when you can identify is it an and or an or problem, and then write your 2 inequalities. You only you only flip it when you multiply or divide by a negative across the sign. Okay, which we'll have an example of that in just a second. Okay, so this one is an and or an or? And. So that means we've got x plus 3, and then x plus 3 is greater than negative 6. So we will take 3 away from both sides, which will give us x is less than 3. And x is greater than negative 9. It's an and problem, so you've just got the one inequality. X is less than, or excuse me, negative 9 is less than x, which is less than 3. It's an and problem, so we're going into each other. Interval notation is negative 9, 3. Okay, try number 7 on your own. Don't distribute, divide. Okay.
Can we distribute? It makes it more complicated.
You end up just undoing it anyway. So my suggestion is to just divide. Maddie. So yes, guys, I appreciate the discussion. Okay, but I do need to kind of clarify something with the question we just got. Okay, so distributing versus just dividing both sides by 3. You cannot mess with anything inside the absolute value symbols until you get it by itself. Okay, so you can't in this particular case, do not distribute as if those are just parentheses. Okay, divide both sides by 3. Yes, you divide both sides by 3. Those 3's will cancel out on the left. 7.
Wait, it's not negative, we don't put this on.
Correct. I was wondering where that came from.
I had it like this.
Make sure we're working on number 7, please.
If you divide by 2, is it just no,
Okay, I'll start putting 7 up there.
no, you did not.
Okay, so when dividing both sides, okay, by that 3 that's on the outside of the absolute value symbol, okay, this is what it should look like, okay, then you can determine if it's an and or an or problem. We see that this one is an or, okay, so then you can write your second expression, inequality.
Oh, did you say I was wrong on 3? Adam, I think bro, his sister exposed him. He was like, I'm half Mexican. And I go, Lucia, are you? He doesn't even know. And she goes, yeah, my mom's half. She doesn't even know. She doesn't know. I asked her if I was from Spain or Mexico. And she said, Spain. You go, no. I said, are you guys Spain? Spanish or Mexican? And she goes, both. Even though. I don't even know what she's from. I'll ask your mom. I'll ask both of you probably. I'm the only one who knows. I don't trust your word. Right. Bro, I didn't have a problem all right. Never doubt me again. I know. I did it wrong. I forgot. You said something wrong. All using multiple
You have 8 permits. 30
and you can have
I did not actually. That's funny.
Wait, actually, he does owe me like 10 bucks.
No worries. Like your homework? After we finish these. Okay. No. Okay. I would like for you to do number 8 and number 10. Okay.
What is it? Oh, number 8. Wait, I'm lost. Where'd that go? Wait, number 10.
8 and 10.
The 7 comes.
We already did 7.
Where the 20 comes.
Well, you didn't. Then you did.
No, it's supposed to be 10. 7:30. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's what I know what I did.
Why'd you minus like 10?
Don't ask. Do not ask. I know exactly.
Yeah, me too.
I got it right.
It's not.
I got 50% of it right. You went to the other side.
I think you're a little bit behind.
To me.
Hey, you can't say Mr. Fletcher's a bad person. He's not a dog.
There's a lot of
I know it's my part.
It's the same thing.
Oh.
Please don't show.
Well,
I don't care. I don't have any.
We're finally showing your mom's you just rewrite it. Oh,
Just bugging up to tell you.
Oh, man. I don't know.
That's awkward.
What's your happy early?
Wait, what?
Of course.
Happy early birthday. Early for next year.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Alright, back to the very.
So,
Did you say your birthday January 3rd and you said happy early birthday?
yeah, because early for next year. Early for next year. So I don't mind it.
Shut up.
Early for next year.
8 and 10.
Why I say early birthday, it already passed. Early for next year. You gotta use your brain. Well, late is bad luck. If you wish someone a late birthday is bad luck.
Not sure where you learned that. Wait.
Early birthday for next year. Because saying late birthday implies that you forgot more than you said.
Well, maybe you
It's
really
been-
did.
I think it's better that.
But
We
early
can say a
birthday,
lot
you
of
are
things.
remembering.
Please.
I'm doing number 8. Fucking doodling again.
I'm gonna use my phone to do it.
What are you cooking? That's bad.
Hands touching your toys.
No, I touched the McDonald's.
Thank you.
Somebody just give it to you and
Oh,
say,
I'm sorry, I'm not sad.
Which toy? Student gave it to me.
No, I'm the second.
Miss Betty, you said 8 and 10?
8 and 10.
1 year.
I don't
Actually. Oh, I really don't know how to do this. How do you know this? This week,
You get a haircut, you always do it.
I disagree with the very good.
What?
I remember the whole team one.
They like,
And then I lost it. Next time.
I feel so bad for you. Wait, what?
I'm not here finding it.
They said beef. They did not say pig.
Oh, it was.
Okay, I'll start putting number 8 up here.
I don't really.
You like that?
Are you giving? That's gotta be.
That's not the right copy.
Okay, let's talk about 8 real quick. Let's talk about 8. Okay. I know some of you figured it out. Some of us have not. Okay. Now keep in mind, I said, okay, you won't be able to determine if it's an and or an or until you get everything.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
were you gonna have track practice in the morning?
Morning.
That's what I was wondering.
The students are more than welcome to go outside and run by themselves in the morning, but no, we
You
will
won't
not.
let me there.
No, I will not.
Okay, well, just count on.
Yeah, I will. Okay, I would love to finish explaining. Okay, so You cannot determine if it's an and or an or problem until you get everything outside of the absolute value symbol removed, okay? Which means you have to multiply both sides by that -2 to get the fraction to go away. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, it flips your sign, okay? So this sign right here is the one that we're using to determine and or, okay? Because that is the first point where we don't have anything outside the absolute value symbol, okay? So it makes it an or problem. You should be on number 10. And then you have to do 9 and 10. Oh.
What'd you say? Charlie. Oh no.
Okay.
That I am going to.
Here is your homework. As soon as you get done with 10, okay, you may come and grab it from the table up here.
I've been meaning to ask you.
If you talk like a nine, quit talking like Mr. Owens.
I have been meaning to
Let me finish this one.
Oh, just a moment.
I have a question about number 10.
Yeah, what's up?
So, I got a number that's not on the number.
Oh, what do you mean?
I got -12 for the other problem.
You can't write your second equation until you get all the stuff outside of the absolute value symbol moved over. So that's why. Okay? Does that make sense? So just like on number 8, I didn't rewrite it until we multiplied both sides by -2. Then it was just the 4x minus 8. So on this one, you have to move the 11 and move the half before. Okay?
I'm really tired.
What's going on?
I saw sick today.
Now, one time back in the day, Miss Jones.
I haven't slept good in like 4 days.
Miss Jones.
How come?
I don't know.
It's not blood sugar related, is it?
What?
You're not sleeping good.
What about it?
I'm asking if it's blood sugar related.
I mean, like what?
Do what?
Which part?
I mean, which part?
I don't know. I mean, I have hypoglycemia, but I eat quite a bit.
And that usually does fine.
Stop distracting Mr. Bennett here, man.
Are you having a caffeine or anything in the afternoons? Huh. I would say like exercise, but you exercise all me, so
Yeah, like every day.
I don't know. That's weird. Are you stressed?
Well, so like I didn't sleep good for 4 days, and then randomly I woke up at 4:50 in the morning and I couldn't go back to bed. Then I went to bed early the next day, and then I woke up early and like it's like the whole thing, and now I'm just like not sleeping anymore.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Just try and get some good rest this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to Dallas,
So probably not.
yeah.
Well,
I'll just take sleeping pills. It's fine.
you're too young to take sleeping pills.
Melatonin.
I have an
If
inquiry.
I wake up at 5.
Why is 8 plus 4 2?
Yeah, exactly. My question is, what's number 8 and 4?
Oh, it's a 1.
Do what?
How is this one an or problem whenever it has
So you've got to get rid of the -2 first. When you multiply by a negative across the sign, that sign flips. And this part right here is where I'm picking the sign from. Once you remove all that stuff from the outside, then you can determine from that point.
I
Okay.
just wasn't able to finish it, so I don't know how.
Yeah, you're good.
We're trying a pen and hey, no, don't sit now. You go. Adam, can you go get us some Yeah. You made it on. You made it on. Oh. Hey, man.
We're gonna need.
Do you have more chaos?
Definitely.
Oh, no.
Thank you. Do you want it back up in the
Adam. No sense. Something about the
Is this homework?
No, it's not. It's just that.